Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about what it's Monday Talk. So I spoke because I recorded one to supplement the previous week or something like that. I was talking about efficiency and people clinging to their jobs or volunteers clinging to their volunteer job or what they assume it's theirs. It's becoming interesting to see how territorial people can be in regard of their job, in regard of anything, feeling that they have a sense of entitlement. And the question is, do you see yourself as an observer and can you see the changes happening around you? Or are you that blind that you're clinging to dear life on things that should be left behind, done with it, and move to the next level? I think people are afraid to move to the next level. This is one of the reasons they're clinging to dear life, to what they know, because the unknown scare them. Problem is, when you're doing this, you're not making a contribution to your own life or where you are, regardless if you're working, if you're volunteering. It doesn't matter on what you're doing. But evolution is part of our lives. Changes are part of our lives. It can be extremely scary. It can be extremely daunting. But do you really think that clinging to dear life into something that's going to go away no matter what, it's going to be of something to help you? No, it doesn't. So, for example, I was working in a company that had someone who did events, and that woman, Jesus, on a motorbike, was awesome. She was phenomenal at her job. Not only she was very good to organize everything, and it was the Super Bowl of the event. So they did smaller events, but this one was the Super Bowl. Like all of the people from the gas and all, the utilities, electrical, excavators, and everybody would show up. It was just amazing. And it was a full week packed from, so you got the event and the exhibition room, and you got different classes, talks, training. So it was a lot of moving pieces, okay? But amazing. From the registration, you were coming in, get all of your stuff in, get settled in your hotel, come to the conference area where you were welcome, blah, blah, blah. So you get your badge, you get everything. She was that good. As the company evolved and things changed, she felt she was being pushed out of the door because she wasn't peppy enough or whatever the deal was. Somebody else is wanting her job, basically, and wanted to get rid of her. And as a gifted person, she was very good. And I told her several times, I said, and I knew that position will not stay and she would have been let go. This is what happened to her. However, she had several months where we were talking before that happened. And I left before she left. I believe so. Yes, I did. She left afterwards. Because they lost a huge contract. That Super Bowl they were working on, which wasn't the Super Bowl, but that was the Super Bowl in those industries. That was the biggest event. There was huge, massive people from DC everywhere on the country and around the world were coming in. This is how big it was. But she She was more, I would say, worried about because, she was past her 40s, way past her 40s, and she has been doing it forever, but she was afraid because the unknown. When you work so long at some jobs, then you stay there maybe for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, even 5 years. You're like, okay, I'm safe. You have that thoughts in your mind, that safety, that you think you're safe. And this is an illusion, actually, because as I mentioned to people, when you get a contract, you know your beginning, you know your end, and you know some of the things can change as well. And interestingly enough, at that point, she thought, that she will stay forever, which I thought she would have. Um, oh, I need to stop this for a minute. I was responding to a text, so it's better to stop what I'm doing than trying to answer and talk in the same time when I'm going to lose my thoughts. So, back to that story. So, when she had a sense, she has a very good instinct, like everybody else's. You know when your time is up, you know when things are not brewing the way it's supposed to see. You see the changes. So she was worried about her job. She raised her concern about it, and I said to her very kindly, I said, "Well, why don't you start to look for a job, and not a job in the event world?" I said, "There is plenty of people who will hire your skill sets because you're amazing," and she is amazing. She's one of the best one I ever saw. Seriously, the woman works on this one 8 months ahead of this big one, and there were several. They did one here, one in Canada, one in a smaller one in Australia. So she was very well versed on all of the attendance and doing everything. It was amazing. And I asked her, and she said to me, "Well, because of my age, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Lady, when people read your resume, who cares about your age? You have the skill sets, and people will." Fight for you to be in those skill set, to have those skill set. And I encourage her. I said, "You know what? You got nothing to lose right now. Refresh, update your resume, and post it online and see what's gonna happen." She was so scared to do it. She did not want to do it. She was really, you could feel that she was clinging, on her desk like for dear life. What is unfortunate at the end of the day, not even several months after I left, she was let go. And it's heartbroken to me to realize that this woman had a very good instinct, was very successful at what she was doing, and could have had an opportunity to go back to a different company and do events as well, or something along those lines. But she was afraid. This is where you realize you're way too comfortable in your life. And sometimes when you're too comfortable in your life and in your own space, you don't realize that when the time is up and it's time for you to, do something else, then you don't take that opportunity. I think she found a different job, but it took her several months, unfortunately. But she was, and she is so gifted, it's kind of difficult. So, yes, changes are always there, and we like it or not, this is part of what we do, unless you want to be in Tibet, in a monastery, or anywhere else in the world, in a monastery, and be a recluse. Those changes will not come the same way, if you know what I mean. So I'm looking in general at people. I'm looking at what others want to do or think they want to do. And it's disturbing at some level when you're trying your best to do everything you need to have it done, and realizing that at the end of the day, when you are on a verge to move on to something else because you have learned all of it and it's time for you to go, fighting it is not gonna keep you there at all. I have experienced that several times. I have seen people doing the same thing, clinging to dear life, because we have that sense of routine and safety that is not even there for our highest good. But for people having a sense of, oh, I get my paycheck, even if I hate my job, if I don't like it, I still have a paycheck, blah, blah, blah. But when the time is come to give you opportunity to do something else, be at the head of the game. If she would have, and it's not a blame, but if she would have take that advice and say, brush your resume, put it out there, see what's gonna bite, she would have had a job that she would have had loved it even better. Instead, she was let go, stayed for several months without a job, and took something else out of desperation. That is not ideal, okay? Some people would not realize what opportunity they got going on for them, or not being kind of blindsided, or refusing to see that. But when you got a gift and you can share it somewhere else, take that opportunity to do it. It's so important, so important. But the most critical part is to understand that trying to cling, to put your claws, like I call it, to put your claws, like I can see like a cat, like putting their claws on that desk, like, oh, I'm gonna, hang their life. It's not gonna stop what's in motion. Having moved on to different job roles as a contractor, as a permanent, I realized very quickly that I had, I wish I had something that would like, oh yeah, you start your work and 30 years later, ooh, congratulations, am I a retirement, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't the destiny I had. It was a step up to the next level where I needed to go. And a lot of people don't understand that when you're looking at jobs. And I know some people have been there for 10, 20, 15 years, whatever years. They have been there and they're counting on continue to do that. But in some respect, when you've got those gifts and you outgrown your position, yes, the universe kind of decide at the end of the day, am I going to move that person? Am I not going to move that person? There is always a life lesson somewhere. But you really have to embrace those changes. And for me, thinking about her, she was a sweetheart, actually. She's still a sweetheart. Very nice person. Just so dedicated. Has done so many things. People really love to deal with her. And she, as I said, at the time of the event too, I was there. And just a fabulous person. And everybody will rely on her from all side of the business, from your regular vendors to organizers. She was the pillar that helped, and it was great. I've learned a lot from her as well on how she was doing things and the extent of what she was doing. So she knew the time was coming, but her fears took over. And to me, it kind of saddened me at some level because such a good person, such a great way to do things, but it wasn't, I would say, the best approach at some level when you try to stop things and you cannot stop. I've been in a situation like that in the past where things change and evolve so quickly that was so disturbing for me. But realizing at the end of the day, well, it is part of the process. This is part of who we are. This is part of what's coming in our lives. And changes are uncomfortable. It's not like, you go and you're having, I'm not going to say the best time of our life because we do have our best time of our life. But I would say more at the level of looking at where we are with everything and taking an assessment, but also the unknown. I think the part of the unknown is the most daunting part of it, the scariest for some people. But having faith that everything will work out, having faith even in the middle of all of it, and just saying to ourselves, well, you know what, everything will work out for the best interest of everyone at heart in that situation. Yes, it does. come very handy with that. But when you talk about people who are used to their routine, because this is the cocoon, we're in our little cocoon, we have our own routine. We're creature of habits like everybody else is. We like our routine, we like our little thing. Some people like it unpredictable, allegedly, because they like the chaos. They thrive in chaos. When everything is too normal, quote unquote, or too quiet, they have to create the chaos. This is how they function. But when you think very deeply about that, then you can really realize that, changes are here for me to move to the next level, to grow, to evolve, to change into something that will really help me rise. And it's difficult because imagine for a minute, you're used to the habits you've got, you're used to your desk, you're used to your routine, you're used to the people around you, you're used to everything and all of a sudden it's taking away from you and you have to start something new. What are you going to do? So you can see it as an opportunity of stepping back and said, okay, I've done this. What else do I want to do? What else do I want to apply for? What else can I bring the skill set and continue to learn? Where else? What can I do for making the right change? So those are opportunities as well. Then you can make the right change. Or you can go in a panic mode where the lack of start to show up because your ego is telling you, you run out of money, you don't have any more paycheck, you have no job, you're not going to find it because you're too old, you're too this, you're too that. And it's like, no. You have to change your perspective. I know that sounds easy to say than done. I totally agree with you guys. Sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. But I'm going to take the example again, and I know people are going to say, well, I'm tired about you and your fire. Well, you know what? Me and the fire helped me a lot because I put myself in the observer mode. What do I mean by that? Even though I got the dogs out, I got, everything, the roof was burning to a crisp. I felt the firefighter were not going fast enough and they were not using the foam at that time. They were water, which I was pissed off. I'm like, I want the foam, I want the chemicals because kill it. At this point, the fire, by the way, extinguished the fire, but it wasn't going fast enough. Okay. But as I was going along, I had no idea where I would sleep. I have no idea where I would go, where I would sleep, where I would be. I had no idea at all. The universe knew, but I did not know it. I had somebody, Jerry, pop up. And to be honest with you, I got a little bit annoyed by her at the beginning because, you're going to be in the midst of a crisis. Somebody come up and say, how can I help you? Do you need something? And they ask you questions. And you're like, who the hell are you? And she did not give up. I love that woman. She did not give up. I had to give her this. She was persistent. And even though I talked to her for a few minutes, she went somewhere else and then we came back and reconvene. But what was good is let it go, let it flow. And things started to put it in places. I could see, because in a position where I wasn't anymore in a fight or flight mode. I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to bed. I wanted this nightmare to do not be there. However, it was there and unfolding on the front of me. However, putting myself in the observer and starting to see her as the person, the key person, the angel, the perfect stranger that will come and give you a leg up. She did. A few hours later, I had a roof over my head. At 7 o'clock, we went with the dogs. I don't even think I slept. We went into the room. I had nothing to change on, but I took a shower or something. I don't even know if I took a shower. I think I did, but I don't recall. But I had a place to stay where I could unpack a little bit what I've got, which was a little bit of clothes. And that was it. I got basically nothing at that point to help me. That was the few next day, then I came up with more stuff as Jerry gave it to me because she had a wonderful network of people, thanks to everybody actually, and brought clothes and stuff like that. So I had started to have change of clothes, change on undergarment, trust me, live with a full pile of undergarment because one doesn't do the trick. But thinking about it is becoming the observer, starting to throw yourself into the unknown and just do one step at a time. Don't try to plan and say where I'm going to be, where I'm going to be heading. It is more at the level of, okay, it's going to be one step at a time, do the best that I can with what I've got. So that is why it's always happening this way. And I have found very interesting that in the midst of everything, changes are essential. And being able to do that requires us to step up to the plate, to be there for ourselves, to be there for our families, reminding ourselves this is part of the process. As a kid, you learn, you grow, you change, you go to school, you go to the following school the following classes, the following year, the following grade. Not the classes, but the following grades. So if we take that concept of accepting those changes, being willing to open ourselves up and said, okay, you know what? I'm facing a lot of things here. I'm in a complete unknown, but I have to keep faith. And for me, looking back as what happened to me a year ago was an eye-opener to, instead of panicking and say, where am I going to sleep, where I'm going to stay, where I'm going to do, blah, 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 I became the observer and I started to see the pieces of the puzzle that is our lives, the people, because we're all on that chessboard that is our lives. And I've been saying this for the past several years now. People are picking it up, which is like, it's about time. But that chessboard that is our lives, you now are able to see all of it. You see the magic, you see the transformation, you see that people are here to give us a leg up. Now, when and I'm sharing that story because a lot of people will put their head in the sand, which, you know what, you're entitled to do that because it's not that easy every day. But when you change your perspective, and would she take that opportunity to brush up her resume and put it online? Like I told her, I said, you don't have to put your real name out there. You can create a fake account. You can fake name if you wanted to, whatever the deal is. Because she was worried that, now that I remember that I'm thinking about it, that people would, recognize her and she would get fired. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. They're looking for somebody or look who's online or Indeed or whatever. But okay, I understand her fears. But at that point, change your name on your resume. You don't have create a fake account and don't put your phone number in there. That's it. You'll be fine. But she would have done that. She would have not gone into a panic attack afterwards when they let her go because it was coming. It was written on the walls. The fear base she had did not stop the inevitable. When a cycle ends, it's ending. When a time to work with people in a company ends, it ends for a reason, for giving us that leg up. That we have learned everything in our moment right there in that lifetime and move on to the next level if we choose to. Because again, even though the universe has planned for us and we planned before we showed up here, it doesn't mean that we're remembering everything. We can go like a chicken without head and run for our lives. But I'm thinking about her and I'm like, okay, you've got an opportunity. You could have several months ahead put your resume out there, being able to pass interviews, get a better job that would bring you to the next level. Yes, it's scary to be hired in a new company. It's scary to be the new kids on the block in a new company. It's you have to learn on everything. Eat. Like Emma said, eat. But you have to think about what is best for you. Yes, new people, new habit, new life, new changes. But it brings you so much more. Because you look back and you're like, holy crap, that was a good transformation. So This was our podcast for today for a Monday talk because this is our Monday talk. Yay, yippee-ki-yay. I have no idea what we're going to talk about on our Wednesday, neither on our Friday talks, but I'm sure it's going to be something interesting. All my love, guys. Keep on rolling. Keep on changing. Learn to be flexible and adapt to situation, even as uncomfortable than they are, and see yourself with the end result, feeling it and living it. All my love. Bye.
Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast. Universe Podcast.